how far is too far sexually, physically, in a romantic relationship? What is the line that needs to be drawn for physically going too far in a relationship? And so I think that's the wrong question to ask, first of all. And let me explain why. Because if you're asking that question, usually what it means is you're thinking about engaging in something that you know is already wrong. It breaches your conscience. The question we should be asking is not how far is too far, like how close can we get to the line, but how quickly can I run from sexual immorality? That's what Paul tells us to do in 1 Corinthians, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, is to flee, run from sexual immorality, not flirt with how far we can go with it. And so a few notes on that I'd like to hit on, and that is why we talked about boundaries a lot during our sermon series, Him+Her. Boundaries being set up for your greatest good, your greatest joy. Unfortunately, a lot of times we see those in relationships as kind of like the rules in your house that you just can't stand to do, the chores that you have to do, and you see them as just handcuffs. They're just trying to rob you of your joy and be a killjoy. And that's the way we see God sometimes, with these rules and set ways that just are impossible to live up to, and just are such joy kills. And that's not what the law is for. The law is to help you understand that you can never attain it, that you need Jesus to do that for you. But in seeking to attain the law, we understand that by obeying God's law, Psalm 119, Psalm 19 tell us that we should love the law. And that is because it brings us our greatest joy. And it's like guardrails. We shared this illustration in our purity sermon. These guardrails, if you're driving down the road and guardrails are set up on deep ravines or cliffs to help you from, if you were to fall, like go off the road, that you wouldn't fall off the cliff. You would stay on the, now you'd still get in a wreck and you'd hurt your car, but at least you don't fall off a cliff and die. Nobody gets out of their car after running into the guardrails, after falling asleep at the wheel, gets out of the car, looks at their car, and blames the stupid guardrails for scuffing their car. No, they look at what they were saved from and they say, thank you, God, for the guardrails. And that's the way God's law works. It's a beautiful law that God has given and set us in place to keep us from falling to our death spiritually. And so understand that the like purity, like not like fleeing from sexual immorality because you've got a line drawn and you know I'm never going to cross this. In fact, I'm not going to cross it. I'm going to run from it. That is your greatest good and your greatest joy. And so the problem is sin. Sin keeps us from doing that. But what we need to be looking for is when your love for Christ outweighs your love of lust. And so your mentality needs to shift from what can I get away with to I so love Jesus that I don't even want to put myself in a situation where I'm going to mess up. This is why it's so dangerous to put yourself in alone situations with the opposite sex or when you're in a relationship. You're always going to be tempted when you get in the car alone with somebody to make a detour and stop at that secluded place where you can mess up or go a little bit too far or at least push the boundaries. And when we talk about making out, things escalating, like making out is always going to lead to bad things. So if we talk about drawing lines in the sand, I would say definitely don't make out, okay? Like you don't need to do that. That needs to be reserved for married couples. I would strongly say that because it always leads to greater activities that lead to sex. And so flee from that, even though everything within you wants to push that pedal a lot further. Okay, so don't do that. And I think anything beyond that, we could obviously say, yeah, don't do that.